The thing too is that in map consciousness we're living in possibility. We're connected to the quantum computation of the brain. And that's the thing with quantum computation. Scientists have realized that the universe works in this way, and that means the brain works in this way. And when somebody goes into map consciousness, they go into not theoretically knowing that the brain works this way, but actually experiencing life from that vantage point with that computation, that algorithm in operation. And as one is in that state and acting in that way, they are actually making it so the fabric of reality changes more towards that, operating in a quantum way. We work in this linear, logical, subject-object way, whereas the quantum is possibility. So with science, I think I might have talked about this, but the way science is done, objective observer, experiment, objective results, and so that's the way we actually see reality. But if we actually go into that state where we experience it in a quantum way, we see that it's all possibilities. And a person that goes into living in possibilities, people that live in the linear world think they're crazy. So it's kind of the impossible thing to support others to see the quantum world and have their brain operate in the quantum state. So the me needs to disintegrate in order for the quantum state to come into being. So all of this work of integrating the me is actually likely counterproductive in a way. So when we spend time in beauty and possibility, we build beauty brain cells and quantum brain cells. And the me isn't beautiful. It's a program. And if we have a mechanical program in our brain, we can't see the life algorithm of possibility and beauty. So the me program is a program that blocks our seeing, which is the objective, separate subject. So all of science is really a process of blocking one's seeing by thinking things work in mechanical ways, because our brain works in a mechanical way. But if our brain worked in the possible way, we would see the possibilities of how things interrelate. And that would be a lot more interesting, and we could probably confirm together whether we see the same thing as possible, and that would be enough to really understand that that's the way it worked, without tearing it apart. And we turn that level of consciousness into actuality through action. And I'm realizing that I really can't listen to things and take in other people's information. I'm going to listen to something on the Neuroscience Summit tomorrow, but just with listening to Dr. Siegel's stuff, I wrote pages and pages of it. I wrote pages and pages of stuff. Hearing thoughts about stuff is too much information, like when I listened to the vaccine summit. And I really hope that I'm somewhat standing up for labeled people. People who have their brains labeled as defective. They're just a different type of effective. And it's something that's not deemed effective in the world of society as it is now. And I hope this creates some language for us as a neuro tribe. Not that it's the right language. And it doesn't really matter about the language per se, because the language is seeing and creating new meaning, not having to prove that it's correct before we open our mouths. Because that's what we've been taught to do. And really, when our perception is clear, we sense the correctness of something in the moment, and it's a felt sense that is way more powerful than going based on our recorded information in our brain of our thoughts and what we've been told is okay to know. And Dr. Siegel said, the mind uses integration to create well-being within and between. Well, to me, the intelligence beyond the brain, which is the mind, wants us to integrate the whole mind, nature. And in a way, I hope to be able to integrate brains together, link different, unique, wonderful people who have been labeled with mental illnesses together, linked with new language and new context and new ways of seeing it, and creating new ways of seeing it together and for oneself, that move us towards our brains healing in the beauty that they are. We have beautiful brains that are made to seem ugly by this ugly society. And maybe I'm the only one that thinks this way, and I feel like we could create a mind and brains that share similar and differentiated and linked, integrated context of what's really happening in our brains. And I think that this type of language and speaking to ourselves in this way and to each other might actually be the care, the vibration of care and sound that the brain needs in order to heal itself back into the beauty that it is. It's been told that it's ill and that it should be scared and all this stuff. Oh my gosh, you are cute. You look like Scrat. Actually, I think... Oh. Hi. You are funny. I was thinking that it would be good to integrate more nature into my videos, because it's sort of one thing to say, oh, the brain gets attuned to beauty, and it's another thing to actually put in a few clips of the infinite beauty of the day. And sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes I'm surprised that this dialogue just keeps going and going, and more memes or insights or whatever the heck one wants to call them gets created. And I don't see them as anything special or this is special. The point of this is that anybody can do this, especially somebody who's gone through map consciousness. We already woke up, and lots of advocates share this perspective, and I'm hoping that more of us can really feel this, or at least reawaken and activate this feeling sense we already had and already have within us, and add more richness to it in order to sort of be a net of meaning to save us from thinking that we're these horrible, ill people. I think I was going to say, the insights keep going, but also where I am now, the beauty of the day keeps going. It gets deeper and deeper. That tiny caterpillar was like the coolest thing I've seen, and I've seen so many cool things. So when I have an insight or a meme come in, and I write it down and I want to share it with myself and unfold it and see what happens, it's the same with the beauty. So there's this balance of beauty in being in nature and beauty in dialogue with oneself. And I don't know if it's beauty or what it is, but what I'm trying to say is it keeps going and it's infinite. So the beauty is infinite, and when one is connected with that meaning-making state and things like that, whatever it is, it keeps going. So I never have this urge to cling on to any of it as, oh wow, this is great, this is the final answer. There's no final answers. And that's the cool thing, it just keeps going, and one can really just let go. And with this process with my friend, I'm sort of hoping to create something where one can really just be this meaning maker and idea creator on the go, on the fly, all the time, or whenever, and just really harvest the beauty and pass it on. Kind of like being a person in map consciousness, mapping this consciousness for other people to get into this context of hyper ideas and insights and meaning making, not as this is my one idea and I'm going to work 20 years on it. Just like with science, this is my one hypothesis, I'm going to work 20 years on it. It's so old and dinosaurish, and no wonder when we go into map consciousness we feel like we've been transported into the future because our brains are working so fast and so efficiently beyond the current paradigm, which is, take 20 years to prove one idea and then take 20 years to put it into play. This would be putting things into play immediately and in a way that is collaborative, and the new currency in a way is ideas. It's not money. Like money, people are so focused on money and success and these certain meanings in society that they never have one good idea. Or they do, and by the time they do, somebody else has done it. So there's stuff with that. It's kind of like wandering with love. Can I create a lifestyle and a technology style that will suit my lifestyle? That's something even beyond the current thing of, oh, I have my laptop business. This would be like my life is my business every second. Not I work on my business a couple hours a day and then go about my life. It makes everything into one. Because that's how one is in mania, but no, we don't have the tools to actually also know how to live and sort of support ourselves and support our body and thrive and not burn out from it. So I don't know what that is, but so when I was talking about bipolar is about disintegrating the me, that's in relation to instead of the me being mindful. So we talk about this me trying to be mindful when the me needs to kind of blow apart. I feel like in map consciousness and these other states, we speak as non-locality. We don't speak as me, as this localized entity. And we speak as infinite perspectives, and we speak as superposition states. So it can be kind of confusing. And I think being aware of what our brain is doing and having some language and context might save us from reporting ourselves to psychiatry. So if we know that our brain is just working in this different way and we know how to keep ourselves safe, we don't need to go tell people what's happening because they don't get it anyways. So the one thing would be to be supported to get through some of this and have compassionate people support us. And then the next thing is once we have some people who are compassionate, we can actually start sharing some of these other perspectives we have, which are like downloads. They're probably downloads from the cloud because we all live in the cloud because we have the cloud now, and it makes sense one day we'll be able to upload everything in the cloud, so we probably already did. So some people are getting downloads from the cloud. How do you like that one? I probably shouldn't be talking about this stuff. I don't want to freak out my brain. And Dr. Daniel Siegel said that the definition of energy is that it's a movement from possibility to actuality. And I think I talked about this because I might have taken notes on some of this twice. But anyway, that is pretty much what mania is, a movement from possibility to actuality. We feel things are possible. We take action to make them possible. We usually run out of steam because it's difficult to remain in the state of possibility. The likely possibility is that we're funneled towards the psych ward. It's less possible that to be in the state of possibility, we'll be able to remain in the state of possibility and maybe bring others into the state of possibility with us. And then that makes the state of possibility more possible and makes things more probable through action. And the movement of thought is a waste of energy, and it actually collapses the wave function and makes things not possible because we already know what it is, and that's from the past. So for some reason it's okay to say things theoretically and scientifically, but it's not okay to say things experientially. And that's what we're doing when we're in map consciousness and on our way back. And those experiences are interpreted as signs of mental illness. And he talks about regulation of energy and information flow, and that the mind is energy and information flow. Well, sometimes I am getting way too much energy and information flow, and I can modulate this with medication, and there's other ways I can modulate it. So I'm hoping to be able to modulate it in healthier ways with micronutrients and things like that. And I think being in such a beautiful place creates more energy and information flow. One is more attentive to the energy and information flow of beauty, which is infinite. Whereas if somebody is in society, they're more attentive to the thought information flow, which is very limited. Being tuned into thought is like being tuned into a very small line, whereas being tuned into beauty and nature is being tuned into infinite complexity. And he said, the knowing of consciousness is when the energy position moves into the plane of possibility. And this is his language and stuff that he's created, his amazing context. And I feel like that's what happens when people go into map consciousness. Their energy position moves into the plane of possibility, which, in thinking about it now, I've talked about how thought actually tenses us up and moves our center of gravity off of our natural center of gravity, which is the one of our light body, which is not disturbed by all the thoughts that constrict our musculature and move us off the center of gravity. So when that loosens up, our energy position, our center of gravity or our center of consciousness goes into the plane of possibility, and all of a sudden our center of consciousness can move around choicelessly, effortlessly, to take in every bit of nature that the eye of beauty would want to see. And that's the eye of the mind. The eyes of the mind would select for different information than what is being selected for with thought. So in a way, all the memes of thought are sort of this false natural selection, selecting for false things, false constructs. So I think when that switch loosens up, it's almost like this switch that clicks us into moving off our center of gravity, which is thinking. And when we're non-thinkers, when we're clear, we're in that sort of alignment with our light body information, and our mind screen is clear, and we're able to use the eyes of beauty. So thought isn't beautiful, and when we're projecting thoughts out of our eyes and these holographic images and holophonic sounds, it distorts our nervous system and our body, and we're not seeing beauty. But when we relax back into relaxed perception and choiceless awareness, what the choicelessness is beauty. The eyes then select for beauty and respond to beauty. And then they actually get afraid of non-beauty and thought. And that's probably what happens in map consciousness, is the eyes of beauty get scared from the reality it sees. At first it thinks it's fun, and then it thinks, oh my God, I can't look at this because it's not beautiful. And it almost destroys the apparatus that would want to perceive the beauty. But if this apparatus can rest in beauty and can really rest assured that beauty is the ultimate, and I'm using beauty, I don't know what word is right. And that beauty is indestructible. And when beauty sees that, then fear is eliminated. I love hearing what these very, very intelligent people say and shifting it to integrate that differentiated bit and link it into the context of what I'm talking about. I think with bipolar, the mind is beauty, fries are me circuits, because that's non-beauty and gives us access to beauty. But then we come back down here to the non-beautiful world where everyone else is, the collective resonance, and we don't have a me. We have a disintegrated me. If the me was so real, why would it disintegrate? And why would it be so difficult to get the brain to start reintegrating it? I feel like self-dialogue is dialoguing the self into existence, dialoguing the mind into existence. So the mind uses the brain to create itself, but if it's full of the me, that's going to distort what the mind wants to create through the brain. I think the me is just a construct of how we use language. And it's not that it's wrong, it's just ready to evolve. I think it's kind of bored with it. I think it's kind of bored with me's. So I wrote down, thought is an emergent property of the mind, energy and information flow, that helps the mind create itself. But it turned the wrong way and created individual selves where there are none.